The time is here, and we're hitting the reset button to go better, faster, and further than we've ever gone before. So what are we resetting? Let's have a look. Okay, we understand CEWA offers a framework of collaboration and a framework within which we work. Now it's working with the technology as well. So CEWA isn't a separate entity, and all these schools by themselves are separate identities. But we need to work together. All these schools have to solve the big tough problems themselves, find out how to get technology working better, and find out how to get the systems and processes working better, and each school has to go and do that on their own. But it's time to get together as a system and work together. So what we're going to do is move in and have a look. Some of these schools are Office 365 schools like Servite. We'll move in to the Office 365 environment inside of CEWA and get collaboration and sharing and support undreamt of before as we work together in better processes. Some schools are GAFE schools, Google Account schools. These are also going to move into CEWA, and they'll also be able to experience and grow and collaborate more than they've ever had been able to do before. Some schools don't use either of these systems and are doing it tough by themselves, trying to find bits and pieces. They'll move in and have these resources available to them. And you can see every time a school moves in, the collaboration between these schools becomes unimaginably better. These schools can start to work together. Instead of being the only teacher of economics in your school, you'll be part of a community of economics teachers. If you're the only person doing your role in your school, you'll now be together with everybody else. And that together makes this whole CEWA system stronger and better and a lot more efficient. Now, everyone's going to move in. We're all going to be there eventually. We're using these tools, collaborating together. Being one of the early adopters, so Servite is looking at one of the very first Office 365 schools, we get a dedicated team that's professional, working on this, working long and hard to support us through the move so we can then support other schools. So our first thing that we're going to look at is identity. Now, identity is really, really important. It's what makes us different. We've got a great school, and we want to know that our teachers and our students are part of this great school. We don't want to lose that and become the same. We want to celebrate the greatness of each individual school. So together we're going to look at this. Now, it's not time to confuse identity with your log on and that boring things. So think of your key that you get in. It's fairly easy for teachers. Teachers can be managed a little bit different from students. So schools just have to come up and change their identity, and we've already done that. So as well as our traditional identity of surname.firstname at Servite, we also have this firstname.surname at Servite, which is the standard that will be used. So we'll always be a great teacher, and you'll be identified as a great teacher of Servite. And that'll continue with you as long as you're at the college. But hey, what about when we go to other schools, other great schools, or go into CEWA and we work with CEWA, where still we impart? You'll have an overarching identity that you can use any time, and this will work at other schools, this will work at the CEWA, it'll work in lots of resources, and if you move schools, this will always stay with you, but your identity at the school may change. So you'll have this one as well. You've always had it, a CathedNet logon, but it was never really utilised that much. So you'll have that as well, but don't panic. Will always be a great Servite school. You'll always be a great Servite teacher when you're at Servite, and that identity will be kept. Students, however, will keep their identity, but because we've got to be a bit more careful with students, and students we know will stay at school for their primary school, and typically most students will then move to a different school for the high school. Well, they might move 3 or 4 times. So we need to give them identity that can go with them, stay with them for their entire school career. And so we're going to give them an identity that is like you see here. It is simply the first initial and surname at student.cewa.edu.au. And that's going to stay with the student for an entire time in Catholic systems. So hey, but what about identity? What about celebrating the great students that we have at our college and having to identify, how do I know this student is? Well, don't panic. Just like you, while they're at our school, they'll have an email address that will reflect their identity as a Servite student. So although they may be logging on with something that looks a bit different, they will still have that identity that all their correspondence, all their work, everything will be identified as a great student from a great school that they're attending. So, how does this all happen? Well, this is where the team from CEWA is critical. They have the expertise. This is what they do. They're coming and working for CEWA now, but they've done this for lots of different organisations, and that's why we're relying on those guys. It does mean a break in services, which means there'll be some time you can't access the things you think you need to access. So during the holidays, what will have to happen is our great school, which already has its own Office 365 cloud and services and is functioning in there, first thing that's going to happen that during the holidays, you'll find one day we've unplugged the system. You can't access any of the services, things such as email, logging onto the Wi-Fi, or accessing your OneDrive or any of those services. That has to be done because we need the system static with no changes happening. Because once that's been unplugged, us great school can be recreated in the cloud that CEWA is part of. So we're going to become a part of that system, but it'll be turned off. So you can't access it. But what will happen is now, all the important stuff that's already in the cloud, that we've been using the cloud for a while, good examples are OneDrives and your email, they're already in the cloud. They'll be copied across to this new location. So that's why we need no one accessing or working on the system while that happens. So that'll happen over a day. And it'll be copied across, it'll be checked, it'll be compared. Once everything is working really, really well, you can turn the system back on. Now the first thing that happens when you turn that system on, it's in a new location. So it may look the same, everything you expect is there, but you will have your new identity, which for students will look quite different, but for staff will look a little bit the same, but there'll be a brand new password. You'll be able to access that via the cloud by any device and access your stuff. But here's where the reset part comes. Because of the college computers, Windows-based computers, desktops and the laptop that students have, your identity is baked into these systems in so many places and so many ways that it's impossible to change. So the only way we can get these systems working together is that every desktop in the school and every staff laptop has to be wiped, refreshed, reset, and logged back into the system. So you will need to hand in your computer, not use your desktop, and that'll work for you. Now obviously there's some special cases. There'll be a lot of discussion about how this process will happen, what's the best way for you, and information on that will be coming. For us students using iPads, it's a little bit simpler. They'll obviously notice the time that it stops working, and they'll have to be given their new credentials and log in. So they'll get a point where on one day it'll stop working, and it doesn't matter what they do, it will not work, doesn't matter if they even have their new one. And then we get the new system turned on, they enter those new credentials into those services and those apps, and it'll all work for them like it always did before. First thing with this new system is a little bit of positive news. Straight away what we'll be doing is your H drive is going to become a cloud drive. So some people have already been using their OneDrive. This means your H drive, all those files that you have that you might want to access, will be accessible through any computer with your credentials online. If you take your school laptop home and access the Wi-Fi at home and want to do some work there, that'll be able to access it. If you use your home computer, you'll be accessing it through the cloud through some internet browser. And a big job is moving the G drive, our shared drives, our network drives. These will also move to the cloud. They'll be, firstly, we'll turn off access to them so we can't write to them, we can't make any more changes. And we'll set up a structure in the cloud and you'll be able to put all those important files right there, so it doesn't matter where you are, what device you're on, at school or off school premises. If you need to access some of those important drives with the great security we've got now, that's our first win, is access anytime those work.